my identity as a child was like what you mentioned, is of being a very competitive athlete. When you move out of that sport, you're trying to navigate. All of my friends were my teammates.
Wow.
I didn't have a whole lot of like external stuff that like I was involved in because I was always practicing. That was like, we talk about vulnerability. That was a super vulnerable time in my life.
Welcome to Vulnerability Muscle, the inspiring podcast challenging norms and helping you redefine vulnerability as a strength. I'm your host, Reggie D. Each episode of Vulnerability Muscle dives into a variety of topics such as mental health, social issues, and mindset shifts. We explore the power of vulnerability in fostering meaningful connections, healing, building resilience, and promoting personal growth. Sometimes these conversations are uncomfortable, but good workouts often are. So join us and flex that vulnerability muscle. Welcome to Vulnerability Muscle, the inspiring podcast helping you to redefine vulnerability as a strength that connects, that heals, that grows. And today I have an amazing guest, Amanda Banks. How are you, Amanda?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited for this conversation. I feel like it's been many years coming.
Yes.
So I'm excited about it and so grateful to be here.
Well, I'm grateful to have you here. Amanda and I go back several years now, probably was it pre-COVID? It was like right before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. So met Amanda at a coffee shop, overhearing the amazing conversation that she was having with one of our mutual connections, and decided to introduce myself. And it has opened up so many doors and a friendship that I am so thankful for. So I can't wait to tell y'all more about that. But before we get started, I like to do something that's called What Comes to Mind. So it's just 3 questions, and you feel free to answer them however you like, okay?
Okay. Let's go.
All right. So what comes to mind when you hear the word vulnerability?
I believe it's more than a word. It's more of an emotion. So it's a little bit of a deeper meaning to me. Vulnerability is the ability to speak truth, regardless of how physical, emotional, spiritually painful it is, and being able to clearly communicate that.
I love that. Speak truth. Truth and authenticity flows from Amanda. I hope y'all know that. But next question is, what is something you do when you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed to kind of center you and bring you back?
I love to sleep.
Yes.
Like, it's so powerful. I'm a napper. I try to nap 20 to 30 minutes a day, seriously. I'm one of those people, my husband calls me a Tasmanian devil. Like, I'm all over the place all the time. The minute that I wake up, my feet hit the floor and I am off the ground running. So napping is like one of those must-haves just in general. So I love to nap.
I like that. Like 20 to 30 minute naps don't work for me though. I'm like 2-hour nap. But I do love napping and sleeping. Like it is sometimes overlooked as something that helps us recharge, because it is so vital to our whole system to just have that reset. So love that. Thank you for that. And lastly, what is one of your favorite childhood memories?
That's tough. I would say gymnastics was everything for me. So I remember selecting leotards was always a lot of fun. It's something just as simple as that, right? There was this weird like hanging clothing rack with all of these different leotards, and I didn't come from a lot of money, and gymnastics is a very expensive sport. So every once in a while we would be able to grab a new leotard, and I just remember like looking through all of them.
Wow.
And being able to select that leotard, and it was like one of those moments of like amazingness.
Wow. That just brought me back. So I'm thinking back to like early football days and not knowing how to put my pads in my pants, but being so excited about that moment in like the first years of playing and just like folding up the knee pad and like, oh, that's how it goes. Like, so I can definitely feel that, like that first, like, I mean, newness of just like picking out things. That's so cool. So you competitive gymnastics, that's a part of your story. Can you talk about just how you got into that and what that has done for you in life?
Yeah. So I started gymnastics really young. I was probably 5 or 6, started in Indiana. Naturally was just very, very gifted at the sport. And so when we moved to Tennessee, my coach from Indiana moved with our family and trained me. It was a really kind of an odd situation looking back, but he was a great family friend. And I started doing competitive gymnastics very young, thrived in the sport, and became a high-level 10 at 10 years old. So unlike many other sports, gymnastics is one of those where athletes tend to peak very young. And sustainability and longevity in the sport is very difficult just because of the nature of the sport. So I was one of those that, peaked really young, got super burnout, transitioned out of the sport very young and went down a naturally like a very dark kind of pathway. Eventually picked myself back up, but that's my gymnastics story is I was super high level competitive gymnast, peaked very young, transitioned out, struggled with the transition, which contributes to a lot of the work that I do now. But it's definitely still a passion of mine, even though I cannot do it any longer. Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll get to the gym and put my feet on the beam, and I'm like, yes, I still can go to the Olympics. That's not happening. Way too old.
Yeah. Oh man. So I didn't realize that it was that early that you had gotten into it and been so competitive, and that your coach came down with you. Like, what? That's cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, he was a family friend. I actually talked to him last week. I'm working on a project, and he's a subject matter expert in the project. I was like, I need to pick your brain a little bit. But he moved with my family. He lived with my family for a short time, trained me, and then eventually went and opened up an incredibly successful gymnastics center in Murfreesboro. So he's also very well known in the sport now. And has done some really amazing things on the coaching side.
Okay, that's cool. Can we give him a shout out?
Yeah, so Ken Harris with ETC Gymnastics. And
Ken Harris.
He was an incredible coach. He's got a different coaching style. And when he moved gyms, I was trained under other coaches as well. But he's an incredible mind, a great coach, strong leader, comes from a faith background as well. And he was a good influence in my life.
Nice. That's beautiful. I want to so you don't have to get into too much detail, whatever you're comfortable with, but that transition out, like as a former athlete myself, that was one of the hardest things that I had to do. Like the grief that came with being a player, an athlete, and being recognized as that, and having that so tied to my identity for so long, and then it being not ripped away, because I actually stopped playing on my own accord, but not having that anymore. Like, what was that like, and what was the mindset during that period, and how did you get out of that?
Yeah, so sports was like an out for me. So I grew up in a really crazy environment, and sports was that escape for me, which is also why I was so good at it, is I knew that, if I thrived in the sport, that meant more coaching time, more time in the gym, all of these other things. And so at the time, my parents were going through a divorce, and I was done. I was done with the entire situation. My identity as a child was like what you mentioned, is of being a very competitive athlete. But then it was also in the dynamic of, this is part of my everyday life. And now that my everyday life has kind of got a shaken up of things, I was done. I was done with everything going on. And to your point, identity is a challenge with athletes. And quite frankly, as a young lady, all of my friends were my teammates. Wow. I didn't have a whole lot of external stuff that I was involved in, because I was always practicing. So it was a challenging time. And once again, your identity gets tied into that of the sport. When you move out of that sport, you're trying to navigate, first off, the change of being athlete, but also I was a teenager.
Yeah, exactly.
I was a young teenager, so I was dealing with high school and drama and all of the things. So family challenges. And so that was we talk about vulnerability. That was a super vulnerable time in my life. And I was judged for a lot of the things that I was doing, rightfully so. But there was a lot of people that didn't understand some of the other things that were going on behind the scenes. And it was a vulnerable time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But you've taken, I know, mindset from that time period. You've taken the work ethic from that time period, and you've poured it into so many things. You are the Jill of all skills. You're for real. You are. When I think of connect, you're a connector. You're great at sales. You're great at marketing. You're great at planning events, which I hate doing. If you
need me, you know where to find me.
But you're great at so many things, and I that was one of the things when we first met. And this is me being vulnerable and sharing. We met. We had lunch one time, and we were sharing a little bit about our background. And I think I had just come out with PTSD, the book, and sharing that. But you said, you need me, right? And you had, like, you saw something in my story or in ways that your experience and background and knowledge and wisdom could help me out. But I wasn't at a place in my life where I was willing to even accept that and be vulnerable enough to say I need help. And so I texted you not too long ago, and I was like, you're one person who I've only felt genuine love and care from, and I feel like I've given you the stiff arm. I think that's how I phrased it. And it had nothing to do with you. It was all about me and ego and just where I was on my healing journey. But you were open and receptive, and you've always been the same person from yesterday to tomorrow. Like, I know you're going to be the same person. And just to be able to do all you do and impact all the people that you impact, I just want to give you your flowers and say thank you.
Thank you. I feel the same about you. Like, I appreciate the work that you do. I appreciate who you are as a human being. When we first met, as you mentioned, at a coffee shop, Corey Alexander and his business partner own that coffee shop. I've known Corey for a long time.
Shout out.
And with you, like, I just always appreciated that if we didn't keep the conversation going, every once in a while we would check in with each other.
Yeah.
And the reality is like, I need you as well, right? There's parts of both of our stories that I think is a good reminder to one another. But I think also we are deeply compassionate human beings that care about other people. And I'm not perfect. I know you're not perfect, but it's one of those things that, like, if I make a mistake and somebody approaches me with it, like, I'm going to share my perspective or my side of the story. And you're very much the same way. So when I find people that are genuine and, appreciate things like authenticity and vulnerability, and that also put forth the work, like, living this is a lifestyle. Like, we choose this lifestyle. And it's hard work, and you live that lifestyle. And I appreciate that. And you're just such a kind and generous human being.
Well, I appreciate that. Look, I wasn't expecting that, but no, I appreciate your words and just who you are. And so you've done so much, like, and you are so much to so many people. Create and Innovate.
Yeah.
Create and Innovate is a business solutions. Create and Innovate solutions. Yeah. You started this business amongst other businesses that you started, but what was the impetus behind that, and what are you doing and hoping to impact in that way? Yeah,
so Create and Innovate was out of necessity. So I had a couple of other businesses, and they didn't work out the way that I had hoped that they had worked out. And I was considering going back into corporate. I was like, man, that corporate lifestyle, like, is so much easier.
Yeah,
like, it's so much easier. And I was considering going down that pathway, and then the license for TEDxOldHickory happened. So it was one of those things where I had to, like, create an entity to be able to support that vision. And then, so I supported that vision. And then after the first TEDxOldHickory, like, I really worked on framing up what that company is going to do.
Okay.
I tried going through the process of fiscal sponsorship with it and seeing if, like, I don't have to start another company. But for whatever reason, God's plan is me to have and run businesses.
Yeah.
So that was really the impetus behind it, was I had to have an entity as the license holder to start that event. There were a lot of people counting on me with that first one, and it had to have somewhere to go. And Create and Innovate, it became a project under that business.
Wow. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize it was tied to TEDxOldHickory. And so tell people about that. So you are the organizer of TEDxOldHickory. More than organizer, like proprietor, like found, like you are the brainchild behind a TEDx event here in Tennessee. And so how did that come to be, and what does the process of that look like?
Yeah, so I was a TEDx speaker. I have a unique perspective on speaking, organizing, hosting, being a license holder. But my friend, Dr. Dan Young, at the time, he was like, you're just going to do one. And I didn't even know what it was. Yeah. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll figure this out and I'll go do it. Like, if somebody's telling me that I need to do it, I'm going to do it. So I put forth the energy and preparation, became a TEDx speaker. The next year I hosted it. And then the next year I was like, why are we not running this in our own community? And the truth is, Old Hickory is a small town community. We don't have traditional event space, so to speak, that would, like, be like a more corporate oriented event space. And I was the crazy one that was like, I'm going to submit for the license to see if I can get one.
Yeah.
And I got one, and I was like, we're going to do this at the highest of quality, what I see as the highest of quality, and learn from some of the best practices of, what Dan and other organizers have done, and put this thing in a place where it seemingly does not belong. So that's like the story. Tactically, there's so many other steps that go alongside it, but that's kind of how it was just a vision and like an idea of like, why are we not running this? And it's like, well, she's not doing it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll do it. Like, no worries. So that's it. And you were one of my speakers in 2024 last year. It goes by so fast.
It does.
So I'm like, is it 25, 26? What year is it?
Right.
But I mean, it's a pretty magical experience.
It is. And I came to the first one in the audience, and I just to witness the greatness that it was, and for it to be the first event, like it was flawless. Like I'm sure you saw flaws and felt so many things that were not how you wanted them to be, but from an audience perspective, you would have thought you had been doing that for years. And I got so inspired. Like that was the thing about, it was my second TEDx event. I went to TEDx Nashville maybe a year or two before that. And like you're just getting hit with inspiration after inspiration after, like these folks have put in work in their lives, but also in this talk, and you are seeing the outcome of that. And like you cannot help but leave like inspired. And so I remember I took some pictures with some friends, and I took some pictures of the stage, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be up here. I'm gonna be up here. Like one day. I didn't know when it was, and I didn't know if it was actually going to be TEDxOldHickory, but like I'm going to be on this stage one day. And lo and behold, fast forward a year, and I was able to be on that stage, and I appreciate you for so much of the support along the way. Like one, listening to your talk, I believe in you. Like those 4 words can change a person's life.
They can.
Those 4 words, and I listened to it just to hear your message. What made you give that talk when you did?
I live with purpose. So like I think, I sit, I meditate, I think, I see what's coming up. I see what's continuous behaviors or continuous words in my life that are meaningful at that time. And I just made the decision that this is what I'm going to lead with, and did that. To your point, I've done a lot of different types of things. I think that from the outside looking in, a TEDx style talk can be very simple. It's 18 minutes or less. It is one of the most complicated things to do. And so when I made that decision, I really didn't know what I was doing. So I didn't really know the TEDx process super well. I was just learning. I was completely a newbie into that. But for whatever reason, those words have been very pivotal in my life, both spoken to me as well as me speaking them to other people. And so I said, why not? Like, worst case scenario, this goes really bad.
Right. And nobody sees it. And it's like, okay.
Okay, cool. And, that's a beautiful thing. And I think the listeners would probably want to better understand from you, because it's not easy.
No.
Like, people don't realize how difficult, not just doing it, but like doing it really well.
True.
And I believe you did it really well.
I appreciate that.
And I know how much energy and effort, and maybe even a time or two that you wanted to quit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But I'm sure that people listening would be like, what is it like to go through that? Because you don't just get up there and do it.
True. And this is something I learned from you, just like different TEDx's, they have different processes. They have like they're owning that license and doing what they want to do with it. And you chose a route that, like you said, you got best practices and different things. And so I remember, like I'm gonna go all the way back. Like I was sitting there, and I'm remembering the pictures I took and kind of this promise I made to myself that I am gonna be on that stage. And the call for speakers is out, and it's like the last week, and I'm just sitting there playing with the application. It's like, and I called you, and I was like, all right, I'm thinking about this, and I'm overthinking about a million other things, but like this is the route that I'm thinking, and like any advice you could give, like that would be appreciated. And you help break it down and make it simple for like what the event was looking for, how I met those qualifications just by who I am, and then encouraged me to submit the damn application. And like literally, like you're just like, submit the damn application. And I submitted it, and that months well, like, I guess, like, we found out a couple weeks later, but then it was months until the actual talk. And so that was the time where I felt like me and probably a lot of other folks were like, oh shit, let me run. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get on that stage. And especially I've spoken on big stages. I've spoken in front of a lot of people, but that red dot, and
there's something about it.
It's something different.
I don't know what it is,
yeah.
but there's something about the vibe of that red circle.
It is. It's like, I mean, because we've seen TED Talks and TEDx's go viral and so many people watch them. And so like you have some of that in the back of your mind. Like so many people are going to see this blemish on my face. And if I stumble over this word, like, so that's playing at it. But also with some of the guidelines, it's, things that you can say or ways that you can say it and not say it. And that was at first very difficult for me. I'm like, I don't write nothing down. I just like to go. And, but I had to get with the structure of a TEDx, but then still keep in mind, like keep it to authentic to me. And like the process with TEDxOldHickory was we had multiple check-ins where we were building our talk, checking in about the process of it all, and also getting coached by Amanda, by Dr. Dan Young, and so many other folks that were part of the community. And I thought that was reassuring to just know that I wasn't gonna, okay, you're accepted, and in September we're gonna talk. Like, you better be good when you get up here. Like, it was check-ins along the way, multiple, and that helped, like, to keep me accountable, because I don't think I would have written the outline. I don't think I would have actually written a whole talk, even though I didn't go through it verbatim when I actually gave my talk. But that process helped me feel confident when I got up on stage to give my talk. And it was
so beautifully done. It was
so like, the energy in my body when I was done was like, yeah, like I did that. And I was proud of myself. So thank you for that opportunity. And thank you for the coaching along the way. And for anybody out there, I'm looking in the camera. Push the damn button. Submit the damn application. Go talk to who you need to talk to. But let this be your sign, because had I not done that, like, I get people, and my talk hadn't even gone viral, but I still get people who are like, saw your talk and that's the reason why we're booking you, or that's the reason why we want you to do this and do that. And so, like, it has power when you get up there and share your truth. And so I'm encouraging you to press the damn button right now. So
on anything. Like,
anything.
It doesn't have to be a TEDx talk.
It doesn't have to be
just
TEDx.
Submit the
like,
button. Like,
we want to optimize all this stuff. Like, even this podcast, like, I might have been on Zoom the first one, like with my camera on my computer, no mic, no nothing. And then I got a better mic, I got a better camera, and then we're in the studio. And so, like, it just has to start. So start it, then you can think about optimizing it later. But yeah.
You've mentioned, like, I've done all of these different types of things, and that's a piece that I'm not even worried about anymore. Like, I'm okay to just start something.
Yeah.
Like, I talk about putting one foot in front of the other. Yes. I may fail. It's okay. Like, I have a really good resilient mindset associated to that. Some of that is just how, like, some of the challenges that I've been through in my life, some of the stories that I could go into millions of hours worth of conversations about that are not appropriate for today's podcast. But, I'm not afraid to start something.
Yeah.
And that's a piece. I've been around a lot of really, really successful people, whether it's athletes, entrepreneurs, executives. They're not scared to just take that first step. Now, there may be some anxiety associated to it. Like, some things are deeply scary, and terrifying. And to me, entrepreneurship has been, like, the deepest, most spiritual journey of, like, self-discovery that I could have ever imagined. But I'm not afraid to start something.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of those things you started, because you're right. It's self-discovery, it's soul searching. It'll challenge you greater than anything. Like you said earlier, like corporate, it's like, this is easier. Like, I know when I'm checking in, I know when I'm checking out. I know, like, I have, my job description and that's it. But entrepreneurship, you're all over the place. So what are some of the things that you've started and how they have gone and turned out, or some of the things you're working on now?
I mean, TEDxOldHickory, like, that's going well.
Yeah.
That's a good success story, going really well. We've seen a lot of success. I've had 28 speakers through that system.
Let's go.
7 of them have made editor's pick. 5 have been released, 2 are getting ready to be released. So I'm really proud of that. I would say my business is going really well. You know, I'm running events, I'm doing education, I'm speaking, I'm helping others speak. So I wouldn't say that I'm like a speaker coach per se, but I am doing a little bit of work where somebody's like, somebody told me I needed to do a TEDx style talk, and like I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing, but I want to do it well. Will you help me? So I do a fair amount of coaching, and I've seen my clients have seen a lot of success, and the events that I'm running are very well done, which is really exciting. So I've been able to take some of the best practices and the work that I've poured into TEDxOldHickory and be able to leverage that for my business as well, which has been really good.
I love that. I love that. And you do work with athletes as well. Can you talk about that? Like what ways in which do you serve athletes? How do you do that?
Yeah. So right now I'm running events, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've had a fair share of time working with athletes that are going from sports and going into business and really need a little bit of a pathway or trajectory. I've done some coaching, but I love running events. And that's the piece is like, I get jazzed up when I see somebody on a stage and we've curated everything for them, and then they feel so comfortable and confident in whatever they're doing. So that's the piece that I've really been diving into is, you know, either helping. It doesn't really matter who it is. It's really somebody that has a lot of tenacity and grit, which is why athletes are a good target audience for me. I am one. So I understand some of the challenges, but like there's just a nature of tenacity, grit, resilience, doing the work. I've done some coaching with some folks, quite frankly, that they're not willing to do the work. And like I can't support or help drive results for people that aren't willing to do the work themselves. So I love to approach business with flexibility because I am also, as an entrepreneur, still learning and growing. And to me, it's more, is this person a person that has these types of characteristics? And two, like, are they cool to work with? Are they wanting to innovate and drive interesting results? So I've done strategic partnerships and coaching and all this stuff, but really it's a deep exploration of like trying to figure out exactly where I can serve the best of my ability.
You mentioned exploration. I'm curious what the self-exploration has looked like and what you've learned about yourself through entrepreneurship.
That's a really interesting thing. One of the biggest pieces that I've learned is that I don't have to try to have others, like I don't have to convince others of my value. Like in a corporate kind of setting, you're constantly having to do performance reviews and justify your actions and have metrics associated to those actions. Like I don't have to look at you, Reggie, and say like, I'm going to convince you that I'm a valuable asset to have as part of your team. That's one of the biggest things that I've had to learn myself as an entrepreneur is like the value comes from me.
Yeah.
And if there are projects or individuals or other people that don't see that value, then that's on them. Like I can't control that, nor do I have any desire or intention to control that. So that's the biggest thing that I've had to learn all tactical stuff as well, like the financials, profit loss statement, like all of that stuff. But deep exploration wise, like I've leaned into spirituality and meditation and mindfulness practices. But then I've also just had to learn like people are people and I am not here to convince them of anything.
I love that because I call him a mentor. I had a mentor at one point who told me, like when I was in corporate working, he's like, you know, entrepreneurship is a scary route. And he had been an entrepreneur. And he's like, that's when the world shows you your value, right? Like when you go to a job, your boss is putting a salary on you or whatever it may be, like that is what they're saying your value is at this company. But when you go out into entrepreneurship, the world is saying, because of how you show up, what your services are, what you perform, this is what we value you as. And that put a lot of pressure on me, I think, because when I first got into entrepreneurship, it's hard because like you got to understand all those different facets of business, like marketing and operations and finance. And like you got to understand all those different parts. And if you're not doing those things well, like the business could be great, the operations could be great, but you're not showing, nobody knows about it. Or like you haven't planned around like the future and the finances of it all. And so like you have to understand all those things. And it doesn't mean that you suck or your business sucks, but it means that you just have to, again, like spin all those plates and have them going. And like, so for a while, in finance, I'm like, why am I not getting this and that and that? And like, but like I didn't understand all the different areas of entrepreneurship. And then when something clicks, it's like, oh, like the world is abundant. And like there could be a billion other people doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, but I can still win. And so it changed my mindset around like the world is going to show you your value, and like that it's so much out there. Like you can get so much and be sitting across from somebody who is your quote unquote competitor and like learn from them and grow from that.
I'm a huge fan of intentional scalability. So like that's something that in a market, like I recognize I have privilege associated to that, right? Like in my business, I want to scale responsibly. There's a lot out there, especially with gurus, that'll say like, you need to be selling X, Y, Z. You need to be doing this. You need to be going out and doing books and coaching and all of this stuff. And I went down that rabbit hole a little bit and I was miserable. And I started thinking like, for me to intentionally scale this process, like I want to scale responsibly because I have integrity. The work that I do, like regardless of what it is, I want it to be the highest of quality in my expectations of quality. And so I've really focused on intentional scalability and like being very mindful of like, this is working, this isn't working. Yes, I know I should have a book. Yes, I know I should be speaking more. Yes, I know that I should be doing XYZ activity, but I'm also a mom.
Yeah.
So
right.
like,
you have a life.
Like I have a life. And so that's the piece is like, I've also learned, this is like the third nugget is, and this was a TEDx thing. You can put forth all the energy and the effort in the world, but you cannot control what happens on that red circle. You can't, like, you just have to let it go.
Yeah.
I learned that from Marshall Goldsmith as well. He goes like this and he says, just let it go.
Just let it go.
Just let it go. And that's
like
the
Elsa.
piece. Like Elsa. Like that's what I had to learn as well is like, I can't control the outcome, but what I can control is I work my ass off. I'm kind. I'm generous with my time. And I'm playing the long game. I have no desire to scale off the backs of somebody else.
Yeah.
And I've made some mistakes. I've had some wins, but ultimately, like, I live with integrity to that.
Yeah, yeah. And that is something that draws me to you is that integrity and knowing that you want to see other people win and you are genuine in that approach. And something you said, like, reminded me of a shift that I made recently. So I think 2023, I had a really great year in speaking. Like it was my second full year speaking, and it was like, whoa, 24 kind of dipped. And I was like, I thought I figured it out. Like, what's going on? And then, so going into this year, I changed the way that I looked at my goals. And instead of having these outcome goals of like this much revenue, this many speaking events, like it was all input driven. Like how many people am I reaching out to a week? How many calls am I making, emails and things like that, things that I can control and be proud of at the end of the week, end of the month, end of the year, and say, if I do all these things, this other stuff will take care of itself. And so like, yeah, like getting away from the output and let it go. Let it go.
Like, let it go. Like, I'm like that with relationships. Like, I'm not here to force somebody to see my value. I'm not like, I'm past that. Right. Like, and that's the piece that like, I've had to let go because once again, in a corporate setting, you have to justify all of these things. And I come from enterprise sales and strategic partnerships. Like I've sold millions of stuff, like tech. I've sold a lot of things. Attic insulation. I've sold tacos. I worked at Taco Bell for a little bit. Right. But like, that's the piece that I've had to learn is like, people are not going to outwork my hustle. And yes, I know there's like an anti-hustle culture going on, but like I love the grind. And that's something I'm really good at, right? Like I'm great at just keeping things moving forward and being intentional about relationships and putting forth the work. And that's all I can control. Like I can't control external factors.
Yeah, that's so true. How do you balance it all? Your mother, your Jill of all skills. How do you balance it?
I don't like. There's harmony associated to things, and I have boundaries. Like my daughter is priority. I miss a lot of events. I piss a lot of people off because I can't participate in certain things. But the reality is like I'm not willing to not take her to school, or I'm not willing to not be able to take her to soccer practice. Like she's 14 now. Like it goes by so fast. But there's also things with like my husband, I'm not willing to sacrifice that boundary. Like, he's a super private person. I respect that in him. So most of the time when I have these conversations, like, it's very much about business or professional oriented or my mindset oriented. There's certain boundaries that I just don't cross, and I have harmony in all of that. And some days it's good, some days it's not.
Yeah.
But I give myself a lot of grace.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very graceful with myself, and like,
Yes.
I'm gonna lose my shit.
Yeah.
Like, okay, guys, like, my bucket's full. Like, I'm very mindful of where I'm at in all of that harmonious process. And like, balance for me, when she graduates, cool.
Yeah,
Like,
it's different.
We'll figure it out. But I've got to weather the crazy.
Yeah.
That's okay.
No, I like that. I like that you said I don't, because people will try to fit an answer in there, right? And one of the things, like when I used to work at Deloitte, when everybody else was talking about work-life balance, Deloitte started, talking about work-life fit and how do all these things fit together. And I think that speaks to kind of the harmony that you're talking about, where it's gonna be uneven. It's not like balance doesn't mean 50-50. It doesn't mean that, but like finding what works, what fits for you in that harmony, I think is good. And it sounds like it's giving you life the way that your harmony is working right now. And I hope that it continues.
I ask myself this question, and this is a question that I recommend everybody. Like, what is this teaching me? Like, throughout the day, there's tons of things going on, and we just don't take the time and ask, like, what is this teaching me? Good and bad. Like, there's the roller coaster ride of entrepreneurship hell, and it's like legit, right? Like, there's highs and lows. Sometimes things are off the tracks. Like, but I ask myself, what am I learning from this experience? Even in relationships. And so I think about it, like, she'll graduate in 3.5 years, right? And then what? I'll have this opportunity to travel globally, which I've turned down opportunities in certain ways just because I'm not willing to sacrifice what's at home. But then I think, like, what are all of these things that I've created some type of weird harmony around? And what is that preparing me for? And to be able to serve on a bigger platform than I currently am. And that's 3.5 years for me. Like, I know mom is going to have a little bit more freedom in 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So what can I do in the meantime to live harmoniously, build my business, be an excellent mom to the best of my ability, and be a good wife and live in that space?
I love that. I want to get into a segment, and it's just fill in the blank.
Okay.
The first one, entrepreneurship has taught me blank.
Everything.
That's real.
Everything. like it does. It teaches you everything.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's real. I need help with
Everything. I'm an entrepreneur. I need help with everything.
That's so real. Oh my God.
Do you have another one that I can fit everything?
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, that's too good. That's too good. This might work. I don't know, because Jill evolves skills. My greatest strength is
Seeing potential in people.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter what it is. Like, I can look at an athlete and say, that one's got potential. But I can see and identify potential in people, in opportunities. I can see potential in myself. I have a world-class skill of being able to see potential.
I like that. You see people.
What about you?
My greatest strength?
Yeah.
My greatest strength, I would say, is my compassion and empathy toward other people. Having the life experiences that I've had and being able to weather the storms and then have grace for others by learning their story and then have grace for myself, I think I can project out the compassion and the empathy and put myself in people's shoes, or at least try to understand their situation to just love them more and see them for who they are and understand that they are human at the end of it all, no matter if I agree or disagree with them, but I can try to understand from where they're coming from. And so, yeah, I would say that's probably my greatest. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
You're great at that.
Thank you for flipping it back on me. Next question is, if I could tell my younger self anything, it would be blank.
It'll be okay. Like, those years of like middle and high school, because I get to experience it through the lens of my daughter now. We moved her from, a small private Christian school into a very large public school, new soccer team. Like there's just so many changes emotionally, physically, even environmental, oftentimes in those ways. And like other people will cast judgment on you. That's another thing. Even as an adult, like I have thought processes associated to judgment. But I'd tell my younger self kind of what I tell her on a daily basis at this point is like, it's going to be okay. It will be. I know it doesn't seem that way, but like, it's going to be okay.
I love that. Yes, yes, yes. Last one is, if I could think of it, it's a really good question. I promise you. Oh yeah.
It's all good. I feel like I need to brace myself for this.
No,
one.
it's not even that deep. It's not even that deep. It just like slipped my mind. But when I am seeking inspiration, I turn to
God. Yeah. Myself. Like I have to get quiet and think. I think that there's a big opportunity for a lot of us to just get still. And especially as an entrepreneur, like it does not happen often. But when I'm seeking inspiration, oftentimes it's because I need to get still and quiet and I need to just listen.
Yeah.
There's inspiration everywhere.
There is. And you've been inspiring, and I know that you've inspired so many listeners today. Any last thing that is on your mind, things that you want to share with the audience just to inspire them?
I loved how you like framed this of like, just hit the damn button. Like, just hit the damn button. A lot of the greatest opportunities that I've had access to is because I hit the damn button. Nobody's going to do this for you. Like, if you're an entrepreneur, you learn that very quickly of like, you have to drive the bus. And just hit the damn button. Because like, what's the worst? They can say no. So like some of the opportunities, I've got a million stories around this, and I'll share one that's really powerful, which kind of started all of this, like ideas, innovation, how I've lived my entrepreneur journey for the past several years. I had a friend that I did a random TV show with, and we just, for whatever reason, kept in contact. And I reached out to him one day and I said, what have you got going on? He's a global traveler and, writes for Forbes and all of these other amazing publications and has always been an inspiration for me. And a leader that somebody that I like want to model behavior around, like somebody that I will learn from. And I just asked him, I said, like, what do you got going on? And he said, I'm going to Lisbon. And I was like, thanks for the damn invite. And he said, I have an extra ticket.
Wow.
If you can get to Lisbon in a week, you're more than welcome to have that. And I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know the conference. Like I had no idea. So I walked upstairs and I told my husband, I was like, I need to go to Lisbon. I'd never been out of the country before except for on a cruise ship. Luckily, I had a passport so that I could go. But I went upstairs. I said, I've got to go to Lisbon. And he was like, well, tell me about it. And he was like, okay, go. So I ended up getting on a plane pretty much less than a week later, flew into Lisbon, went to the world's largest tech conferences, got to go behind the scenes with Rhett, and we interviewed people like Tim Draper and Dave Meltzer and some of these other like globally renowned entrepreneurs, executives, and just asking the question like, hit the damn button, hit the damn button. And that has led to so many additional opportunities, conversations, collaborations with him and other people that I met. But that's one of the many stories that I think you're the same way. Like, I'm okay to fight for an opportunity, but I don't need to fight for my value in being involved in that opportunity. So that's what I would just leave people with is like, hit the damn button. Reggie did. This is his show. He hit the damn button. Now he's, done his TEDx talk and he feels really good about it. And your podcast is growing and it's amazing. And hit the damn button.
Just do it. I love that. Amanda, if people want to reach out to you, because I know they will, how can they contact you?
LinkedIn is like the easiest place to find me. So you can email me, amanda@createandinnovatesolutions.com. My Instagram and Facebook are both closed. So if you reach out to me and I don't know you, more than likely I will not connect with you. But LinkedIn and email is a great place to find me. And I'm always happy to grab coffee or start conversations or whatever. You never know where these things will go.
You never know. And y'all, thank y'all for listening. Thank you for supporting. Continue to support, rate, subscribe, leave messages, leave comments, reach out to us. And so we want to hear from you. And I want to hear where you're from. If you're from Lisbon, I might have you on the show. So that would be cool. But Amanda, with all the things that you could be doing and all the places you could be, I appreciate you being here with me, embracing vulnerability.
Same. There's 8.2 billion people on this planet, and for whatever reason, we're here. So
Yes.
There's a lot of power in that, and I'm grateful as well.
Thank you.
Cheering you on, friend.
Thank you for joining us in another episode of Vulnerability Muscle. If you've enjoyed these conversations around vulnerability, please consider leaving a review. Your feedback not only motivates us to continue to do the work that we do, but it allows other people to witness the power of vulnerability. Share your thoughts on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from. And don't forget to spread the word. You can follow us at Vulnerability Muscle on Instagram and me personally at Reggie D Ford across all platforms. Visit vulnerabilitymuscle.com for additional resources and support. And remember, embracing vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It is the source of your greatest strength. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but most workouts are. So keep flexing that vulnerability muscle.